chance into Wednesday morning with Wednesday's high in the lower 80s. That's a look at the forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Duncan.
Mike Gallagher can't believe what's happening to the Clinton campaign.
But you want to hear how goofy the Democrats are right now? They want to blame the Russians for the WikiLeaks stuff. Here's the Clinton campaign manager, Robbie Mook, on CNN.
The Russians are releasing these emails for the purpose of actually helping Donald Trump. I don't think it's coincidental that these emails were released on the eve of our convention here. We also saw...
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekday mornings at 8 on FM 94.5, AM 1420. The Answer. Now back to Clint Bellows, sponsored in part by Dingman's Collision Centers.
At 4:05 Central Daylight Time on what I think is a pretty good, pretty nice day. Not as ridiculously hot as it was late last week. Clint Bellows with Braden Larson joining you on Omaha's Conservative Talk. The Answer 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. This is the Omaha Conservative Talk Network, where you got nothing but conservative talk from 5 o'clock in the morning till... I believe 2 o'clock this afternoon when Michael Medved came on. Okay, so we're going to try to deprogram you and get all of his propaganda out of your head. Welcome to the show. My bona fides as a conservative are well known, and they're known by administrations going all the way back to the early 1970s in this country. I've had the opportunity in my Forrest Gumpian life to work with a lot of great people that worked with Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford and of course, Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, and some noted guys that didn't do so well in national campaigns: Bob Dole, Jack Kemp, Pete Wilson, and George Deukmejian, John McCain. All people that I worked with over the years. I'm leaving quite a few out, actually, but I'm delighted to be back in my hometown of Omaha after 32 years on the West Coast, 33 years, something like that. My base of operation was Orange County, California, and I kind of went all over the place from there. In those days, you had to drive on the 405 freeway up to LAX to get on a plane to go anywhere. Now you can just hit the Orange County John Wayne Airport, and they'll take you just about anywhere you want to go. So I'm delighted to be with you. It's we're going to break down these conventions today. We're not leaving the whole issue of our terror problems unaccounted for, although we will be talking about the very, very valuable comments of U.S. Secretary of State John Lurch Kerry in a little bit with Mark Christian. And if you haven't heard these, you will not believe them, because that is the mindset of the current bunch of thugs that run our government. Delighted to be with you. And we had a great convention last week. It wasn't perfect, but I'll tell you what, I think it came off pretty well. The Democrats, however, off to a very rocky start, and we're going to be getting into that in just a few minutes. But before we do, I wanted to give you an update. We had our conservative weenie roast yesterday, and it was at the great grounds of the Joslin Castle at 40th and Davenport Street here in Omaha, that 5-acre beautiful site that the Joslin family built well over 100 years ago. My good friend Mary Yoakum offices there, and she did yeoman service in putting this event together. Mary, my respect for you continues to grow, and thank you for your contributions for all these years to this community and the various charities and good works that you do. And I just couldn't be happier that you're a friend of mine, and you just knocked it out of the park yesterday. Our young charges, Braden and Tyler, were delighted to work with you, and and you did a wonderful job. Thank you so much. The weather helped out, folks. It was the conservative weenie roast, and you never know. I mean, I'm not so technically competent. In fact, that's got to. Where's that laugh sign. I mean, that's got to be Clint's technical competence. Yeah, that's what I thought. But fortunately, there are people around me that understand how to do these things. I'm limited. I enjoy actually talking to people on the phone. So if you get a chance to call me, I'm at 402-498-5685. There are 100 different ways to reach me. We'll get into those as the show rolls along, but 402-498-5685. And this is KOTK, as we have mentioned before. George, our good friend, came out of pocket for a few hundred Nathan's hot dogs. Forgive me, George, forgive me. We would never buy anything that ConAgra produced. The bottom line on it is he was there, good-looking guy, a real American. I'm proud to know this man. George, you got to submit an expense report to me so I can get you reimbursed for those hot dogs and the buns and all the accoutrements that you brought along. And the best thing you brought was that little son of yours who's just an absolute gem. What a great guy. He was so well-behaved and so intelligent and handsome, and everybody there loved him. And we're glad you brought him along. We had many helpers. My good friend Marty Winkler came by and brought drinks and ice cream and all kinds of things. Travis Charter prayed for the group, and he's a man of God, and I'll tell you, if we could come up with a few more Travis Charters, veteran, Bible scholar, hardworking guy, father, all kinds of things this guy is, and he did a wonderful job there yesterday as well. Tom from Tom's Great Store brought his beautiful wife and daughter. We had so many people there. We had also Mary Jane Trumper, who is running for the Douglas County Board, and she spoke. And if you are in the sound of my voice and you're in Mary Jane Trumper's district, vote for her. She is excellent. She's a conservative woman, and we don't want to discriminate against women, do we, you libs? So you liberals that live in that section of town, you should be voting for her too. John Shara, who to me gets the Profiles in Courage Award politically this week, he is running for the unicameral's 11th district seat, which, by the way, is in North Omaha, is Ernest Chambers' seat. Now, the difference among many between John Shara and Ernie Chambers is John Shara actually lives in the district, okay, which is kind of an interesting thing. He's a veteran. He's a business person, a highly successful yet very humble man, and he has taken this guy on in a district that's considered unwinnable, and by the power of God, may he win this contest and actually begin to represent the interests of the people of that district. Anybody that's got one single accomplishment that Ernie Chambers has delivered to that district in the last 30 years, please call the show. Ernie, I know you don't call shows like this. You're too busy doing the other great things you do. But maybe some of your surrogates could call me and tell me where I'm wrong. 402-498-5685. John Shara spoke. And we had former Brigadier General Don Bacon at the event. He is running for the 2nd Congressional seat currently held by Brad Ashford. And he spoke for about 20 minutes. He was a very informative and compelling speaker, also joined by Mark Dreiling, his chief of staff, former Air Force officer as well, and just tremendous guy. We had a great group of people at this, and we had over 100 people. Big crowd for that kind of a thing. I think wander in and out of the event over about a 4-hour period of time. So I just can't get over what a fun and uplifting and spiritual event it was. And I needed that myself because I was fairly pooped Friday night after covering the Republican convention, and it was a good exhaustion, but nonetheless, there was some controversy last week. But I was thinking to myself, how am I ever going to get through the FAZU of Monday through Thursday, okay? Because you're going to hear more unadulterated crap in the next 4 days than you can probably stand if you decide you're going to listen to this stuff. I have a schedule of everybody speaking I'll be giving you in just a moment if you want to listen to it. But they're certainly off to a great start, and we'll be getting into that in just a moment. The time is 4:15. The place is The Answer, Omaha's Conservative Talk. Clint Bellows with you on the Clint Bellows Show, and we'll be back in a moment to find out how Bernie Sanders supporters feel about Hillary Clinton when we return.
Clint Bellows, sponsored in part by Dingman's Collision Centers.
How long were you a slave?
5 years.
What is your name?
On August 19th, my family was betrayed by my own brother. On the road to revenge, I won't let him go unpunished. One man was shown the path.
There is a way. Defeat your brother in the arena and free us all.
To redemption.
Here to make things right. Jesus kept you alive.
You should have killed me.
I will. No, brother.
Ben-Hur, rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13. In theaters, Real D 3D and IMAX 3D, August 19th.
The next time you could use a pick-me-up, head over to godvine.com for uplifting and inspirational videos that you'll truly love. Join the millions of Christians from around the world who watch and share Godvine videos each day. They know that Godvine videos are specially chosen to bring joy and share the love of God and the wonder of His creations. For the very best Christian videos, visit us today at godvine.com.
The Release Ministry's mission is to affect at-risk youth with the life-changing message of Jesus Christ, releasing them to be who God intends them to be. They began in 1994 with just 2 guys, a Bible, and a boombox to reach the youth at Douglas County Youth Center. Then came mentoring, Bible studies, and group homes. Today, Release Ministries operates in 19 locations with mentoring matches and 3 group homes, translating to roughly 350 kids per week, reached in multiple ways across our metro. At-risk youth come from a variety of backgrounds, but with one thing in common. All have experienced significant pain. Pain that needs the love and hope of Jesus Christ. Want to help? Check out releaseministries.org to see the many opportunities you have to make a difference right here, right now. Mentoring, giving, serving, and of course, prayer. But see for yourself. Go to releaseministries.org. Your support of at-risk youth through Release Ministries will affect generations to come. ReleaseMinistries.org.
Clint Bellows, brought to you in part by Norm's Door Service.
You know, folks, that's not the 100th anniversary annual gathering of the Politburo. It's not a rally for Mao Zedong, and it's not a Nazi party gathering in Nuremberg for the annual party convention there. That would be the Democrats in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. I didn't hear a whole lot of it there. Do you know what you just listened to? You just heard the response that Bernie Sanders, you know, the guy I took 2 honeymoons to Moscow, spell America with a K, and looked like I just slipped in my car. Do you remember him? He hasn't been in the news in about 5 or 6 weeks since the primaries ended, and he stopped kicking Hillary Clinton's rather large arse all over the country, beating her like 33 out of 35 times. And yet, in spite of just thumping her in the popular election cycle, and they were close on popular votes. I don't know who actually got what in what state, but I can tell you she didn't get enough to be a first ballot nominee without this whole rigged super delegate system that the Democrats put in place to keep any outsider. Trump would not have been able to have won there because he wouldn't have been able to get past the super delegate count. They would have gone to a Democrat like Mutt Romney or John Kasich or none of these losers. So the bottom line on all that is that Hillary finds herself in probably the catbird seat here as she assumes the nomination of the Democrat Party this week. But Bernie Sanders people are not happy about it. And in fact, the Democrats have gotten off to a fast start because I don't know if you have been able to keep up or if you even care, but I hope you do to some extent. If you've been able to keep up with what's happened to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And, you know, she, attractive gal, She is the Democratic National Chairwoman, or has been for many years. It now emerges at the last minute, and how they managed to keep this under wraps, of course, is only the Democrats can do. Well, actually, Pravda was able to do it pretty well. Putin does it, and the Democrats do it pretty well. And by the way, we'll get into the besmirching of the Trump campaign by the Democrats as we get into this show. They're blaming Trump for everything from Putin to their own emails problems. But here's the way this thing shakes out. Here's the primer course. You don't need to know too much more than this. There was virtually, for the last year or so, unlimited email traffic between Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary Clinton and other key intellectual brain powers of the Democratic National Committee. But what they found out was she was, in fact, enabling Clinton. And how, for my liberal friends out in the Omaha area, and I'm including you in this, Congressman Ashford, how can you support and endorse this criminal? How can you do that? How do you look at yourself in the mirror? What do you tell your 3 fine kids, Brad? That none of these things matter, that breaking the law doesn't count, that you look the other way, that you hang around and line up with people like Nancy Pelosi, okay? You brought her into town. You're hoping that she becomes the next speaker again. She ain't going to become the speaker. You guys aren't going to get within 30 seats of majority in the House. You can forget that one, Brad. Keep dreaming. Keep living in that cloud you've always been in. And just imagine that. There will be retribution to these kinds of moves. I don't believe, in spite of Jane Cleave and the other Nebraska Democrats, I don't believe there's enough of you out there for you to get reelected in that second seat. I hope my conservative friends and others who are just, may not even be conservative, maybe moderates and maybe independents in this area, they want to send somebody who's a little bit more representative of their beliefs than you are, sir, back to the House. You, after all, not only endorse Hillary Clinton, but you're leading her campaign in Nebraska, and you voted to re-up the ante and refund the National Abortion Service, also known as Planned Parenthood. You like killing babies, Brad. The people I know, the people that were at my event yesterday, we ain't in that category, and we can't support somebody who does. And when I voted for you over Lee Terry, I thought we needed a break from Lee Terry. Well, we've had the break. It's now time to go back to business of running the country well, and you need to go. But that's just a side bunny trail. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has already gone. She's out. They and by the way, this is so indicative of the way Bill and Hill do business, okay? If you're a friend of Bill or Hill, that doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot as long at the point when you are no longer valuable to them for their own political objectives. When you quit being somebody that they can make benefit from, that can help promote their cause, they don't return your calls. In fact, that's the least they do to you, if you get my drift. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was given up at a pretty key and very interesting time, okay? Because Bernie Sanders supporters were awestruck, to say the least, in a negative direction by the selection of Tim Kaine as Hillary's running mate. You know, the new team is now called Kaine and Unable, as you know, and that's an old one already, so I won't use it again. But Kaine is a fellow who was mayor of Richmond, Virginia. He was governor of Virginia, and now he's in the United States Senate. He speaks Spanish. He's an affable guy, likable, if you know him. If you don't know him, he's also not as popular in Virginia as Mrs. Clinton thinks he is, and her hubris knows no bounds, because if she had wanted to placate Bernie Sanders and people on the left, which is where the Democrat Party is headed full steam ahead, she wouldn't have picked Tim Kaine. Okay, he's considered way too moderate for their tastes. She would have picked that other witch from Massachusetts. I can't think of her name. What's that senator from Massachusetts? I don't know what her name is. But anyway, you know, the one that's part Iroquois, minority person. But I guess where I'm going with all this is that it's interesting to me, folks, and I hope you'll call me 498-5685 and give me your take on these things. I think it's very, very coincidental that as we are going to gavel this thing down, Hillary sets Debbie Wasserman Schultz out to die, okay, right, so that she will not be delivering the commencement or the opening address to the delegates in Philadelphia tonight. She is not going to be giving that opening speech, and that's, here's a woman who, whether you like her or not, and I don't, whether you are politically in line with her, and clearly we're not, but they're really throwing her under the train here, and they're doing it at a time where she can really do nothing about it. But as the story leaks out and we get more information, we're going to find that what she did was she enabled the superdelegate process to take out Bernie Sanders. And somebody got this information via WikiLeaks, I believe, and let the very brainy Sanders people in his crowd, they needed to have this handed to them on a plate. Apparently they couldn't figure it out for themselves as they were winning all the primaries and yet losing the nomination. This whole thing, and the irony of it, of course, is that it's all about emails. Can you imagine anything more ironic for Debbie Wasserman Schultz than to be dumped over an email scandal? Are you kidding me? Is this the nominee, this Hillary Clinton beast? Is she the one who FBI Director James Comey just said 2 weeks ago was extremely careless with emails that contain national security issues? And we're not talking about a few. We're talking about many tens of thousands. So she is resigning, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. They're still going to try to use her, and she'll be used. She's still of some value to the Clintons, so I'm sure they'll find a way to put some lipstick on a pig and make the best of this. But the truth of the matter is she's been treated very unfairly by, guess who? The Clintons. These great, fine, just wonderful people that so many of you that I know here in Omaha are so crazy about. And you come up with with trite expressions like, well, they all do it. That's just politics. All politicians lie. All politicians cheat. All politicians steal money, and on and on and on. And you know what? That's a lame, and that's a place for people who suffer from a lazy brain syndrome, stinking thinking. You don't have to do anything, folks. All you have to do is come up with these platitudes that you quiet your own convictions and your own conscience with, and just say, I'm going to hold my nose and vote. In fact, a lot of you don't even have to hold your nose. It's a very simple thing for you to do because you think everybody does it. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump is perfect. I'm not saying that anybody else that has ever run for the job, by virtue of the life experience, except for Barack Obama, who we still don't know anything about, and he's never done anything noteworthy, okay, before coming to the White House, there's a paper trail there. There is a trail of relationships, of busted business deals, of all kinds of things that will tend to give you some kind of an understanding of what you're dealing with. You have that with Bill and Hillary Clinton. We talk about it every day in our Clinton segment, which we'll be doing again today, okay, for about the 67th consecutive day. Okay, we got another 60 or so to go. But the truth of the matter is they do it in such a way that it is so far in excess of what anybody else has ever done, okay? There have been some presidential scandals in history. You may think you know something about Watergate. My guess is that many of you really don't. But we've had presidential scandals. There haven't been that many, really, given the fact we've had 44 presidents. This is the most corrupt person to ever run for the job, and by far the least qualified, and yet they're having her inauguration. Her first duty was to placate the left because she made the wrong pick as VP. She should have picked somebody further left than Tim Kaine. She didn't do it, and the result is she took the fallout. How did she handle it? She kept this trump card, or this spare card, in her pocket, and she played it when she knew she needed it. and the Trump, I got to quit using the term Trump card, but the card that she pulled from the bottom of the deck was the card where they knew they had stuff on Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who, by the way, was trying to help them. Okay, this was the whole thing. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was laboring on behalf of the Clintons, distinctly treating Bernie Sanders unfairly during the primary process, and the result of all that is, for her efforts, for her complicity in keeping Bernie Sanders from the nomination, she gets fired, and in a very public, humiliating kind of a way. What do you think of somebody that does that to another woman, by the way? Another woman, another liberal woman. What do you think out there in Millennialville and otherwise? 402-498-5685 times 430. We're continuing to roll along. This is not the only issue. We're only on day one of the Democrat Party, so we're gonna try to cover some real news this week as well. And of course, you're aware that the Muslims have declared war on Germany. We're going to be back in a moment with Dr. Mark Christian to talk about what's going on in Europe and can it be retrieved in just a moment.
In 1963, we listened to Surfin' USA by the Beach Boys as the Beatles began to take the world by storm with their release of I Wanna Hold Your Hand. In that same year, my dad, Norm, launched Norm's Door Service, and we've been serving homeowners and businesses ever since. I'm Ruth, and for more than 50 years, Norm's Door has been in the business of repairing and replacing broken doors, and not just garage doors. Norm's is qualified on the repair and replacement of entry doors, automatic doors, rolling doors, even hangar doors. Large or small, we do it all. Norm's, opening doors since 1963.
Each year, hundreds, if not thousands of people in Omaha were cared for by hospice. A new hospice care is coming. Endless Journey Hospice, to be located just outside of Northwest Omaha, will encompass the holistic philosophy in that the client and their family will be nourished physically, emotionally, and spiritually as they prepare for the end of life and beyond. Amy and Melanie are opening Endless Journey Hospice this year. Amy describes Endless Journey.
Hospice is about celebrating who you are, and it's about enjoying those moments and making more and enjoying the time with your family. When you get to be wrapped around by every discipline you can think of and people to listen to you and to help you dry your tears and then help celebrate your wins, you're not giving up.
Find out more at EndlessJourneyHospice.com. Endless Journey Hospice is a nonprofit organization. Your gift will help generations of people in Omaha. Learn and donate online today. EndlessJourneyHospice.com.
In Nebraska, we brag about being a red state. We have a balanced budget amendment, and we follow it. We have a unicameral. We get more done more efficiently. Even the color of our football team is red. Yeah, we get it. You found Omaha's conservative talk radio station. The answer, the dark red in a red state. We call it the good life. And people on the coasts make fun of us. Yeah, may they not know what we know. Let's keep it that way. And keep listening to Omaha's conservative talk. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The answer.
It's Nebraska's largest Christian music festival returning to the Ralston Arena on Saturday, August 13th. Get your tickets now for Fish Fest Omaha, presented by Assure Women's Center and featuring Building 429, Matt Marr, Lauren Daigle, The Actors, Seventh Time Down, and Jordan Felice. It only happens once each year, and this year it's Saturday, August 13th. Fish Fest Omaha, Nebraska's largest Christian music festival, is a full day of family fun and great Christian music. Get your tickets now online at fishfestomaha.com or the Ralston Arena box office. Groups will receive one free ticket for every 12 purchased. Fish Fest Omaha, Saturday, August 13th, Ralston Arena. Find out all the details at fishfestomaha.com. That's fishfestomaha.com.
The Clint Bellows Show. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The answer.
It's a big week, again, in news. Among other people, today we'll be listening to Franklin Graham's comments and prayer for this country, and that'll be in our 5 o'clock hour. We're going to keep covering the Democrats. I've got a list of the Democrats that are going to be speaking this convention. This is a Democrats who's who, and I can't wait to tell you. If you add up all these people, and there's over 50 of them, I think their IQs are over 150 collectively. I'm not sure, but I'm going to think maybe they are. It's they're about the same general IQ level as Charles Krauthammer by himself would be, or Dennis Prager would be. Welcome back to the Clint Bellows Show. We had another incident. They're a daily occurrence now, we had this one in Nuremberg, Germany, over the weekend. A Syrian blew himself up outside of Nuremberg, wounding 15 people. Pledged alliance to the Islamic State on a video found in his mobile phone, the Bavarian Interior Minister said. And, of course, we know that they hit a McDonald's in Munich. They attacked people with an axe on a train. And I say they because we're talking about Islamic terrorists here. After this latest incident, after 3 other attacks since July 8th that left 10 people dead, dozens injured, growing public unease about Chancellor Angela Merkel's open-door refugee policy, more than 1 million migrants entered Germany over the last year, many fleeing the war in Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq. Boy, these are the people you want in your next-door neighbor home if you're living in Stuttgart or Munich or Nuremberg or Würzburg or Dresden or Berlin or Hamburg or Cologne or Dusseldorf or Bremen or any number of other places over there. These are the people you want there. Federal Interior Minister Thomas de Maizière said no decision will be made on changing asylum or immigration rules until investigations into the recent incidents are finished. These people really are they're too dumb to live, and many of them are going to die because of it. Of course, I would and will initiate appropriate amendments if they're necessary, or if I think they're necessary, but only then, he said. Germany's federal and state security authorities have more than 400 leads on fighters or members of Islamist organizations among refugees that have been coming into Germany. And we could go on and on and on, but we don't. The suicide bomb had been, the bomber had been denied entry to the Ansbach Music Festival shortly before he detonated the bomb outside of it at a restaurant. More than 2,000 people were evacuated from the festival, so, yeah, which is a very small price to pay, but it screws up probably an event that many people were really looking forward to. With everything going on in the world, they were probably happy to get some respite from it, but no. This guy comes in and creates another violent, fatal, tragic scene. And the director of the Interior Ministry in Germany says, well, we're going to have to look into this. We've only had 4 of these this week, and we're just not sure if we need to look at our immigration or our rules on asylum. You've got to be kidding me. You cannot make this stuff up. Dr. Mark Christian of the Global Faith Institute, is this our future in America, sir?
It's not even the future, it's the present, Clint. As you know, there is already people who are on their way to the United States and also into Omaha, Nebraska. And the problem is they are doing it secretively. And I don't know why they're secret about what's going on. And, if you are completely confident of what you're doing, why you are doing secrets like that? And this is the case also in our own home, Omaha, Nebraska, and the state of Nebraska altogether. There's different groups who are, hosting and trying to bring some Syrian refugees into the United States of America, into our state. And people associated with the Tri-Faith Initiative are doing this right now as we speak. And the secret about the exact timing and the exact number is still hidden, but it's coming soon.
Well, you've been at the forefront of this effort of speaking out and identifying the threat, and of course, you've been prescient, and I'm not trying to flatter you, but you've been telling me in the almost 4 years that you and I have been talking about these things that this is a coordinated political as well as terrorist effort. That this, that there's more reason than rhyme in a lot of ways that people might not be aware of, sir.
Absolutely, and you know what? Yes, it is not good to be right on these issues and this stuff, but I wish one thing will people start paying attention to is the threat of the Islamic invasion to the West and to the United States of America and to your own state, wherever you are, whether in the state of Nebraska or any of the rest of the 50 states of America. You know, according to Obama, they are 56, but it's just a different topic.
Yeah, he's a real scholar.
Yeah, so, you know, if you are living in any state, this is a very coordinated effort. And the threat of invasion of Islam to this great nation is not only by terrorists who try to blow themselves up, but by many other means of brainwashing and kind of invading the nation and changing the values of it altogether. And, you know, as we speak right now, there is another attack is taking place in Japan. I don't know if it is related to Islamic terrorism or not, but, you know, it seems like every time I talk to you, Clint, there is a terrorist attacks going on. Because as a matter of fact, there is a terrorist attack going on all the time at this point in time in history.
It's Barack Obama who got up the other day and said times have never been better. There's never been a better time to be born. You're safer now than you ever were, and your chances of being hit in a terrorist attack are a lot less likely than falling down in the bathtub and hitting your head.
You know what John Kerry said? John Kerry said in the air conditioning.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes.
Is more dangerous to the humanity right now more than any group associated with ISIS. You know, when I heard this, Clint, this is what came to my mind immediately is Marie Antoinette in the French Revolution says, you know what? If they cannot find bread, let them eat cake.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know what happened to Marie Antoinette? You know,
she lost her head. You know, Kerry would lose his, but he's already lost it. It's been completely reworked. He says here. I'm
not inciting any violence.
No, I'm just saying. As we are working together on the challenge of ISIS and terrorism, Kerry said, and he's in Vienna. Okay.
Yes.
He's offshore again. And he's saying that this guy does nothing but travel. He doesn't get anything done, but he wastes taxpayer money. It's hard for some people here to do doing right is now of equal importance, so that because it's literally has the ability to save the planet. It's outrageous, is what it is. He says the use of fluorohydrocarbons is unfortunately growing, and he talks about how we're making too many refrigerators. We gotta keep refrigerators out of the United States. Apparently, we're trying to keep immigrants out. We have a caller for you, sir. Sharon, you are on the line. Thank you for calling the show for Dr. Mark Christian.
How you doing, Clint?
I'm doing fine. Is this Sean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had you down as Sharon. Can you learn how to write? Okay. Anyway, you have a question or an observation for Mark Christian on the whole terrorism issue?
My observation is, how you doing? My observation is this is going to get a lot worse than it's going to get better. It just seems like we're getting we're hearing about these attacks almost every day now.
Well,
How worse it can get more than that? You know, I would agree with you, Sean, but, you know, I think we're already in a very bad position, you know, and I hate to see worse than that, because worse than that, I'm going to lose my head personally. And, you know, I just don't want to see the greatest nation ever on earth going that direction of suicide. And John Kerry says that the threat of air condition is worse than ISIS. You know, the disconnect of the leadership of America and the West and the reality of what's going on. Like in Germany, they have attacked, you know, like 4 attacks, and, you know, and they continue saying, you know, we don't know what is the real motive behind all of this. Are you kidding me? Like how hard it is for you to figure this out? And, you know, the people on the ground understand what's going on. So how much disconnect you're going to have between the leadership and the people on the ground who are suffering on a daily basis and afraid on a daily basis?
Exactly, and I'm afraid for our nation itself that we're going to get attacked.
Well, the whole thing strings together pretty well, and we've seen this. The numbers in Europe, we just said them a couple of minutes ago, where there are over 1 million in Germany since Barack Obama decided the war in Iraq was over and that we'd won. He declared victory, and we brought all the troops home, which of course spawned ISIS, and ISIS was growing under the George dumb W. Bush administration as well. It isn't all on Barack Obama, Dr. Christian, but a lot of it is. And,
with this election and what's going on and the exposure of the rhinos of the Republican Party and the Democrats, it is very clear that, you know, people have been kind of believing that there is 2 parties and there is 2 people who are, you know, on different sides of the coin. And as a matter of fact, now it is very clear that the Bush family, together with the Clintons, within the Obama, within the political system of America, all together is equally responsible about the mess that we are in right now.
I'm with you, and I'll tell you what, it breaks my heart, and I'm absolutely embarrassed, ashamed, and I'm infuriated by the role that the Bush family has played with the Saudi Arabians, Mark. I believe there's been a lot of money changing hands there. I believe that Hillary Clinton's on the take big time from the Saudis. I believe, in fact, here's the other thing that comes out of this whole thing, gentlemen, and you've heard this, Mark, if you have comment on it. WikiLeaks is the one that broke this thing on Debbie Wasserman Schultz, right? Who had to resign ignominiously right before the Democrat convention started today, or she was going to get fired. That was the big story over the weekend. But the truth of the matter is also that the Clintons are very much concerned about the next WikiLeaks scandal that's coming down, and that is going to talk about the Clinton Foundation and apparently about contributions. We're not talking about the Salvation Army throw some change in the grocery store pot for Santa as you walk. We're talking about many, many, many millions of dollars from the Saudis, and they camouflage that. They project beyond that and try to throw everybody off of that by accusing, out of left field today, they accused Donald Trump of being Vladimir Putin's best buddy, and that maybe he helped Putin plant this email problem that takes Wasserman Schultz down. You can't make this stuff up, folks. It's too ridiculous on its face, Mark.
I agree with you. And can I highlight something that people are not aware of? You know, I talk about issues and I hate to bring bad news, but here is the fact about, President W. Bush. Right after 9/11, he signed some sort of an agreement with the King of Saudi Arabia at that time to bring Saudi students into the United States by large numbers, and all of them sponsored by the Saudi government. And, without going into the details, here is something that is a problem that is growing, and people are going to be seeing that problem in the next 5 years or so. And that problem is when all those Saudis came to the United States to study for a year or two, sponsored by the Saudi government, they came in and they are older a little bit. They are not like the regular students that you are expecting, and they usually come in for programs that is very simple, like studying English or whatever, and they come over here married, or they get married, right before they come over here. And they give birth to 1 or 2 kids in the United States of America. And as you know, those kids are naturally born citizens as soon as they are born into the land in America. And then after they finish their 2 years, they go back to Saudi Arabia. The problem that is growing right now, that you have for the last 12 years, undisclosed number of natural-born American citizens who never lived one day in the United States of America except when they were born, and they're living under Sharia law, they're living by Saudi and by Islamic teachings and education and so forth, and those are going to be growing up by a large number, and they're going to have a problem in the future when you have all those kids with a complete different mentality affecting the politics and the structure of the United States of America.
Mark, to quote you earlier, I think that's already happened. I think that's well on its way, and I think that if you want to look at how it's already affected politics in the United States, you don't need to look much further than the success that Bernie Sanders has had among young people during this primary campaign. I mean, this man is a communist. Let's call it what it is. He is a totalitarian. He believes in taking the assets of people who work for a living and giving them to the state. He believes in no ownership of private property. He believes in excessive tax rates. He believes a government program for everything, no answering how we're going to pay for any of this, okay?
Yes, and that has what leads to what? Leads dictatorship, control of government of people, and the destruction of the American system altogether. Let's not forget that what he's promising cannot be paid off by the system of the United States of America as it is right now. It has to be a dictatorship-based system that is socialist and communist in its nature, and it is destroying America the way it is, and everything about American life since its inception till today will be gone if these ideas of Bernie Sanders and his followers from college professors and students and so forth is implemented in the United States.
Well, you mentioned the Japan attack. A listener just texted me that 15 people died, another 45 are injured in Japan today, per Fox News.
Stabbing going on. So every time I talk to you, Clint, it's like there is a terrorist attack going on. Probably we should not talk anymore.
Yeah, I guess not. But see, Obama and Kerry, these are not Americans. People fail to understand that what the strength of this country has been based, at least during the time up until that I was involved, which is pre-Clinton, by the way. Okay, I was involved in trying to beat them in the 90s, but from 1978 to about 1993 or 4, when I was heavily involved, I knew so many of these people from the top guy on down. And what you found about them was that they believed in the American dream. They were patriots. They were born, raised, and educated in this country. Now, there are great people like you who have come in from outside and have also contributed to that process. And I could name a dozen of them, in addition to you, that have become great Americans, and they understand things about America that native-born Americans don't appreciate. But the truth of the matter is, John Kerry is not an American. He was born in this country. He was educated by family in Switzerland. His first language, folks, isn't English. It's French. He's a thug, okay? He was a traitor and a coward in Vietnam. His own men were afraid of him. They came out against him when he ran for president in 2004 against George Bush. They swift-boated him, if you recall that, because he's such a man of inferior character. To follow Hillary Clinton at the State Department. And then you've got this guy, Obama, who, this is not an American. I don't care where he was born. He could be born in Omaha for all I care. He does not have the allegiance to this country that a president needs to have. He spent most of his upbringing in Indonesia. Barry Suharto is his name, okay? That's what he was known as, Mark, and you know this is true. And so none of this should surprise any of us. They're trying to keep the wool pulled over the American people's eyes on this stuff, and they've done a pretty good job, haven't they?
They did, and we have an obligation in this coming election, Clint. This is one I highlight, that you know what, for all of those Christians out there that have a problem with Donald Trump, for all of those nice, very well-behaved Americans that have a problem with Donald Trump, for all of those out there that very judgmental that have a problem with Donald Trump, you know what, your system will collapse if you are not going to vote the current administration and the current system out of D.C. and replace it with a new one. And the only hope that we have is a mess called Donald Trump, if you call him a mess. I see him as the only reason that people should not sit at home is to go out and to vote Hillary and the current political system of the United States of America out. Otherwise, it's going to be more harsh than this, and it's going to be horrible. I'm not over here trying to boost Donald Trump or anything like this, but I'm trying to tell everybody that you have a mission. You have a way to protect this country, and it is time to do it and not sit home and just ignore what's going on and to be judgmental and sitting, this is not my Christian conscience. It's not telling me to do this. You are not going to have a country if you continue the way that is.
But and I sometimes feel like you and I are crying in the wilderness here. I mean, I don't know if you heard my intro to you, but I was talking about this guy who is the interior minister in Germany. And after 4 attacks since July 18th, that's a week? They've had 4 terrorist attacks, and these are big attacks. He said no decision would be made on changing asylum or immigration rules until investigations into the incidents were finished. He said, of course, I would and will initiate appropriate amendments if they're necessary, or if I think they're necessary, but only then, he said. Germany's federal and state security authorities have more than 400 leads on Islamic terrorism organizations among refugees that have been allowed into the country by Angela Merkel. And of course, here's the payoff to this. Here's how we connect the dots, Mark. That's also Obama's policy, and it will be Hillary Clinton's policy, won't it?
Yes, 100%. No doubt about that. And it is a very well. You have seen her pick as a VP and how connected he is to the Islamic movement and the Islamists. This is no doubt about that. And here is the thing. I don't want you to be discouraged, Clint, because, speaking in the wilderness kind of reminds us with Jesus Christ
Yes.
that, he died on the cross, and everybody looked at this as the ultimate defeat. But out of that defeat was born a victory to all humanity and redemption throughout the blood of Christ and through the cross. So whatever feeling that you have of this, feeling down, feeling that we are speaking in the wilderness, that there is nobody is listening, you know what? The light will shine if we depend on Him and not depend on any human power whatsoever. I'm not preaching to you. You exactly on the same page, but we need to encourage each other in these crazy times that we live in.
Well, and that's very well put, sir. And of course, those of you who know Mark know that he is a born-again Christian, born in Cairo, if I'm not mistaken, Mark. Have I got that
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
To Muslim parents, you came to this country and you built this great organization, and you're a very devout member of our faith. We're thankful and happy about that. You've got a unique perspective on these things. You have a national audience and a national group of friends, many of whom you've facilitated having on this show. But today, a couple things happened. A fellow by the name of Tim LaHaye died, and Tim LaHaye was the co-author of the Left Behind series, for those of you who may remember that series. It became a group of best-selling movies, among other things, motion pictures. Tim LaHaye passing away. I think he was 90. Tim LaHaye was a leading prophecy minister and scholar, and had been talking in his last days about how serious our problems are. And then the Lord apparently took him back today. But the second thing that happens is Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's son, and the head of Samaritan's Purse, and by anybody's calculation, I think one of the great Christian leaders in this world, spoke out today, and we're going to be hearing his 10-minute remarks and prayer for the nation that he gave today at the top of the hour. So we've got a lot of people that are beginning at least to see, hey, this thing needs to get turned around. What else do you think we will see at the Democratic convention, Mark? One more question for you. I've got about a minute or so left. I've got more than that, actually, so take your time. But what do you envision the Democrats talking about? And they've got a whole lineup of Democrats that are going to speak. It's amazing. Al Franken being one of them. What a great guy he is, of course. And
Snoop Dogg. They're going to have Snoop Dogg singing in one of those.
Snoop Dogg is there. They booed.
At least they need to bring somebody who can vote. You know that he is an ex-felon, so I don't know how they can bring him.
Well, all he needs to do is he just needs to move to Virginia, and then he's covered there. So that'll, because Terry McAuliffe, the Clinton's buddy, got all the criminals.
I agree with you. So, at the end of the day, the Democratic is going to be repeating the same narrative. Trump is dangerous. All those Islamophobes and crazy people like you and me, and the evangelical Christians who are terrorists in their nature because they are advocating, what is sin is a sin and other things, and they're going to push their socialist and communist, narratives, and how Bernie Sanders is going to be hugging Hillary Clinton and asking all his voters to vote for her because they're going to give them free college and everything is free, and women is going to be boosted up to everything, and and we have the right to kill every kid and every womb out there because it's a woman's choice and not anybody's choice, and all the kinds of narrative that is very old and very, it is not even make any sense anymore. So it's time to just, stop listening to that and stop making sense. It's time to be making some sense. I want to mention Tim LaHaye before I go. I was just in a conference by an organization called CNP, Center of National Policy, and that was built and put together by the efforts of Tim LaHaye and Ronald Reagan. And it is a great organization, and I met lots of great people. So this is one of the efforts and the marks of Tim LaHaye and what he did in this great nation. So, rest in peace for him, and, hooray to him. He's meeting Jesus right now. I cannot wait to do the same thing.
Very well put, sir. And, of course, your remarks are timely and right on, and I hope you'll feel free to call in anytime you feel like adding a comment to the show. You're always welcome to do that.
I just wish next time we talk, we don't have a terrorist attack.
Maybe we'll just do it at the last minute so they can't outthink us. I don't know what's going on, but it is interesting. We've done this about the last 3 times we've done it. We've had this occurrence, and again today. So, but we've been joined, thankfully, by Dr. Mark Christian, who is the executive director and founder of the Global Faith Institute here in Omaha, Nebraska. The time's 4:59. We're going to cut to something here. Mark, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And, you know, we talked about the fact that we've got all these great Democrats speaking. Just a partial list. Xera Becerra, Cory Booker, Barbara Boxer, Jerry Brown, Sherrod Brown, Bob Casey, Andrew Cuomo, Mark Dayton, Governor Howard Dean of Vermont. Wow! Big Bird, Bill de Blasio, Mayor of New York, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan. We'll keep going on and on with these. This is an amazing group of losers that are all going to be speaking at the Democrat convention, and we'll be back in a moment.
.94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Translator, 94.5 K233CO, Omaha. And 1420 KOTK, Omaha. The Answer.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. Discordant notes sounding at the Democratic National Convention on a sweltering summer evening in Philadelphia. Bernie Sanders is telling his backers at the convention that electing Hillary Clinton president is a must. Those backers are still none too happy about it.
We have got to defeat Donald Trump. And we have got to elect Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine.
Many Sanders supporters are extremely unhappy about leaked emails showing DNC officials working actively to ensure Clinton would be the Democrats' nominee rather than Sanders. The committee has officially apologized to Sanders over those leaked emails. Donald Trump's accusing Hillary Clinton of throwing Debbie Wasserman Schultz under the bus over the release of those hacked emails. Trump told supporters in Virginia that Clinton showed incredible disloyalty for allowing the Florida congresswoman to be pushed out of her party leadership post. He is also claiming that Wasserman Schultz worked very hard to rig the system in Clinton's favor. A giant in evangelical circles is gone. Dr. Tim LaHaye has died.
The popular Christian author and speaker whose Left Behind series enchanted both the faithful and non-believers alike suffered a stroke over the weekend. He was 90 years old. LaHaye began his career in the pulpit, pastoring a San Diego megachurch and founding San Diego Christian College, as well as several Christian schools. He is probably best known as an author, writing more than 60 nonfiction books on topics ranging from Bible prophecy to family life.
Tim LaHaye, survived by his wife Beverly, the founder of Concerned Women for America, 4 children and numerous grandchildren and great-grandchildren. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 78 points to 18,493. The Nasdaq dropped 2.5. The S&P lower by 7, and oil at $43.05 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
Hey there, this is Eric Metaxas. Lately, I've been telling you about Liberty University's online degree programs. Liberty University is the world's largest Christian university with over 95,000 students studying around the world through Liberty's online programs. While there are a lot of universities who've jumped into online education, few can deliver on the promise of a quality education with such flexibility, and even fewer can actually point to a graduate of their online program like my friend Morgan from Nashville.
I did it. I actually got my degree from Liberty University. 2 degrees, actually. Not only has this process taught me self-discipline, I've also learned that it is never too late to fulfill your dreams. And I did it all online. I did it, and you can too.
Call Liberty University now at 800-424-9595. That's 800-424-9595, 800-424-9595, or visit liberty.edu/online. Flexible, affordable, possible. Liberty University online.
Here's the townhall.com business brief.
Wall Street starts off the week with losses. The Dow, NASDAQ, and the S&P closed lower today. Investors taking a break after 4 weeks of gains that took the market to record highs. Yahoo fell after Verizon announced it would buy most of Yahoo's internet businesses for $4.83 billion. Air France is warning that some of its flights are expected to be canceled later in the week because of a 7-day strike of some cabin crew members. Britain's decision to quit the EU has elevated the risks to U.S. financial stability, although they do remain moderate. That's the latest assessment of the U.S. Treasury Department. The Dow fell 78 points, closing at 18,493. The NASDAQ Composite Index down 3 points, and the S&P 7 points lower at today's closing bell. With business, I'm Rich Thomason.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Weather. Here's Matt Duncan.
Here's a look at the forecast for Monday night. We'll see fair skies. Temperatures pretty comfortable for this time of year. Low in the upper 60s and east winds at 5 to 10. Tuesday, sunshine will reach a summer-like high in the upper 80s with south winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then we'll see a chance of overnight showers and thunderstorms Tuesday night. And we'll linger that chance into Wednesday morning with Wednesday's high in the lower 80s. That's a look at the forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Duncan.
We wanted Donald Trump to get smart. We wanted him to surround himself with strong people. So we went out and got Mike Pence as his running mate. Good start. We wanted him to focus on what was important. So his final speech at the RNC was all about law and order. Democrats say it was doom and gloom. Yeah, well, maybe they forgot the mood in the country. Hey, Hillary, we're in trouble. Trump knows that. Buckle your seatbelts, folks. This station is all over it. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. The Clint Bellows Show. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
Someone like you care for me. You put this love in my heart. I tried but could not refuse. You gave me no time to choose. You put this love in my heart.
Our Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking you to hear our prayers. We are a people in great need. We confess that we are a sinful nation. We're guilty of immorality, idolatry, greed, racism, hate, pride, the lack of care for the poor. We're guilty of legalizing the murder of the unborn. We're guilty of legalizing same-sex marriage. We celebrate and flaunt sin when instead we should be covered in sackcloth and ashes. We don't deserve your blessing, but only your judgment. We have forgotten your laws. We no longer seek your will in our public affairs. We have not listened to your word. We're going backward as a nation, it seems, morally and spiritually. The only hope for America is a spiritual awakening. And this can only happen if we repent of our sins and turn to you and your Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. As the Democratic Party gathers in the great city of Philadelphia, we pray for each delegate that they will look to you and turn to you. We pray for the Democratic nominee, Hillary Rodham Clinton, for her running mate, Senator Tim Kaine. Protect them, Father. Protect their families and all those that they love. And Father, we pray this for all the candidates that are running this year. We pray for our leaders serving in office now, that you would open their eyes and that you would write into their hearts your truth. Father, we have seen a resurgence of racial tensions and unrest and anger in the streets of our cities these past few years. We pray for your peace. We pray for racial reconciliation and understanding. We pray for all the law enforcement officers working at the convention today and those serving across our country. Please help them, protect them, and give them wisdom as they carry out their duties to protect us. We pray for our military, for all the branches of service as they defend our freedom and the freedom of others around the world. As the gavel gets ready to fall in Philadelphia for the opening of this Democratic convention, my prayer is that your gavel of judgment will not fall on this nation, but that you will give us time to repent of our sins and once again to seek your face. Father, we pray that this election season you will give us leaders across this land who will honor you, who will turn to you, who will trust in you. And Father, we pray that your will be done in all of these things. We pray this in the name, the great name, the name of your Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
And that was Franklin Graham's comments and prayer. We did not tell you all the introductory, did not play all of his introductory comments, but he clearly is, like so many other, not only American spiritual leaders, but Americans in general, distressed by where we are. And but we know that God is sovereign. We know that He's in control. And we know that He has a perfect plan. Welcome back to the show, folks. This is the segment that we call the intersection of faith and reason. And, you know, we are looking at a very difficult set of data points, as far as I can tell. But there is some things that make the whole situation seem possible anyway. In USC, the LA Times presidential election daybreak poll, Understanding America's Study. This poll represents a pioneering approach to tracking changes in Americans' opinions through the campaign to the White House. Around 3,000 respondents in the representative panel asked questions, and the daybreak poll is adjusted every midnight of every day of the week. Here's what it shows as of yesterday. You're not going to believe this. Donald Trump is up in this poll. He has a very, very small, but yet not insignificant lead on Hillary Clinton. Now, he, of course, is going to get some benefit from what we call the bounce after his convention. And I don't know how big of a thing this really is because, as has been stated earlier today on this network, it's not that Trump is going up so quickly after the convention. The truth of the matter is Hillary is going down. And as we track her, we've got Trump at about 44% as of July 12th, but we've got him up above 45. He's at roughly 46, 47% of the respondents in this poll. Hillary Clinton is about where she was. She had actually tracked higher a few days ago. But as of the 24th of July, which is about as close as we can get it, she's trailing Trump by 5 points in this poll. And we know that the only poll that really matters historically will be the one that's taken on November 8th. But it is interesting to note that the reason this should be troubling to Mrs. Clinton, folks, is because she is not the new kid on the block. She is a very well-known commodity after 40 years of grifting. You know that about she and her highly ethical, devout husband, Bubba. You know that they have had the highest ethical standards, that they have, of course, a very godlike marriage. They've been loyal and true and faithful to each other all these many years. My producer just yawned when I said that one. And I understand his boredom. May have put the gun in his mouth. No, don't do it. It's astonishing to me that she tracks as highly as she does. And when I listen to Franklin Graham and I listen to the emotion that I know in his voice, and he prayed for everybody running for their safety. He prayed for this country. We're in a tough place, folks. We are, this is not, as Mr. Obama would have you believe, business as usual. You know, I was watching a special last night. I'm fascinated by these historical shows on PBS, on Nebraska Education Television, and they're playing Ken Burns' Roosevelt's series again. I saw it the first time it came out, and I'm watching it again. You know, I'm just astonished and immersed in this. When Franklin Roosevelt took the job in March of 1933 after winning the election held in November of 32 over Herbert Hoover, what he came to office with was a country that had suffered 15 million job losses in the 3 years before he got there. And we called that, by the way, the Great Depression. And at that time, there were probably about a third as many people living in this country as there are now, maybe 100 million or so. We've got 320, 330 million. They were losing 50,000 jobs a week. Let me tell you, Barack Obama got up and told you everything's fine the other day, never been better. There's 100 million people out of work in this country or underemployed who can't find ongoing hope in the employment market. And these are people who have managed companies, who have been with major law firms, who have been key executives in medical and high tech and other industries, manufacturing. They can't find a job. They're working 2 or 3 to keep ends meet. They got no benefits. Of course, Obama offers them a heist on health insurance that they can't afford. I know because I can't. Okay? The bottom line on it is that we're in much worse shape. I don't care if the stock market goes to 28,000. I don't care about the stock market. I don't want to see it crash, but I don't think it's a very good barometer of where this country is and where the people in it are. And for the Democrats to get up there and talk about how great they are and how everything's just rosy, I suppose if 50% of the people who are riding the wagon instead of pulling, i.e. you losers out there that are on welfare generation after generation after generation, I don't know. I'm upset. I'll be back in a moment.
Clint Bellows, brought to you in part by Norm's Door Service.
Hey everybody, this is Pastor Greg Laurie personally inviting you to join the fun on the 2016 Storytellers Cruise with my friends Matthew West, Selah, and Mr. Talkbox, and more. Hey, you can get spiritually recharged in this week of concerts on the Caribbean and the messages that I'm going to be sharing with you.
For more information or to reserve your cabin, visit theansweromaha.com.
Hi, I'm Darcy with Dingman's Collision Center. People often come into our shops and ask if Dingman is actually someone's last name. I tell them yes, we are a family-owned and operated business. And matter of fact, Dingman is my last name. Although Dingman may be a funny name, we take a lot of pride in our name and what it stands for in the automotive collision industry. I'm proud of the way we conduct business at Dingman's and the wonderful customers we have. At Dingman's, we'd rather be the best than apologize for anything less.
The Clint Bellows Show, 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
Nothing can separate. Even if I run away, your love never fails. I know I still make mistakes. You have new mercy for me every day. Your love never fails.
What's it going to be, folks? Hillary's presidential administration, which you can, I think, correctly label the third Obama term. More of the same. More unanswered terrorism and deaths around the world. More loss of American prestige. How about more debt? Isn't $20 trillion enough for you? You want to see that? Let's double down and see if we can break the country under Hillary. How about all the social programs? How about the hatred of police officers? And she will be espousing that this week when she interviews not the wives and the kids of police officers killed, but of criminals killed. People like that guy Brown that jumped on that officer in his police car and tried to take him down and got a bullet in the head for his trouble. Okay? He's a hero, isn't he? Anyway, I just think the whole thing's gotten wacko. The Times 518, I saw this. I get hundreds of emails a day. You probably do too. This is one I need to read you. And it comes from a fellow Christian. He says, I'm not reporting I'm a Trump supporter, only that I'm sending this on for your thinking and reasoning. He says, I'm a Jew turned evangelical Christian. I'm also a passionate supporter of Donald Trump. I have a message for Christians who don't like Donald Trump. You're missing the boat. Christians have Trump all wrong. God sends messages in many forms. You're just not listening. God is talking, but your eyes and ears are closed. Here's a famous joke about God and how he talks to us. A deeply faithful Christian man is stuck on the roof of his home with massive flooding up to the second floor. A rowboat comes. He says, no, I'm waiting for God. I pray and I know he's coming. Second rowboat, no, I'm waiting for God. I know he's coming. Third rowboat, no, I'm waiting for God. Water rises. Man drowns. Now he's meeting God in heaven. The religious man says, where were you, God? I prayed. I was faithful. I asked you to save me. Why would you abandon me? God says, hey, dummy, I sent you 3 rowboats. Are you blind? Did you ever consider Donald Trump as our rowboat now? Maybe God is trying to tell us something important, that now is not the time for a nice Christian guy or a gentleman or a typical Republican powder puff. Maybe now is the time for a natural-born killer, a ruthless fighter, a warrior, a Joshua or Gideon. Do you remember them from the Old Testament? They were not retiring types. They were warriors, and they were men of God. Because right now we need a miracle or America is finished. Did you hear that out there, folks? We need a miracle or America is finished. Tell me I'm overstating the case. Behind the rules, maybe the rules of gentlemen don't apply here. Maybe a gentleman, an all-around nice Christian, would lead us to slaughter. Or do you want another Mitt Romney, Bob Dole, John McCain, Gerald Ford, or Paul Ryan? Did any of them win? Of course not. Did they lead the GOP to the promised land? Did they change the direction of America? No, because if you don't win, you have no say. Paul Ryan, as I've said many times, couldn't even deliver his own state of Wisconsin. And as leader of the House, Paul Ryan rolls over to Obama like my dog rolls over for a scrap of food or a steak bone. He's a useful idiot, nice but obedient. I mean Paul Ryan, not my dog. My dog's actually a pretty good defender and loyal. Maybe God's knocking on your door so loud, but you're not listening. Maybe God understands we need a war leader at this moment in time. Maybe God understands if we don't win this election, America's dead. It's over. The greatest nation in world history will be gone, finished, kaput, adios, shalom. And with one last breath, maybe we need to save us. Maybe what we need to save us at this last second is someone different. Someone you haven't ever experienced before, because you weren't raised in the rough and tumble New York world of business where nothing good gets accomplished unless you're combative, aggressive, outrageous, on the offense at all times, and maybe just a tad arrogant too. Someone with a personality you've never seen on stage at your church. Maybe, just maybe, being a nice Christian, gentlemanly man who would not beat Hillary Clinton and her $1 billion and her best friends in the media, who unleashed the dogs of hell upon the upon the GOP nominee. I guess you think God is only nice and gentlemanly, really? Then you've missed the whole point of the Bible. When necessary, God's a pretty tough guy. When necessary, God strikes with pain, death, destruction. When necessary, God inflicts vengeance. Maybe you think God couldn't possibly be associated with someone like Trump. Trump's too vicious, rude, and crude. When we won World War II, was God nice? Were we gentlemanly when we defeated Hitler? Were we gentlemanly when we firebombed Germany? Were we gentlemanly when we dropped atomic bombs on Japan? Is God ever nice on the battlefield, or does he send us a vicious SOB like George S. Patton so the good guys can defeat evil? Pretty clear to me God sends unique people to be war leaders. It's that different role than a pastor or church leader. God understands that, even if you don't. Maybe God purposely sent Trump instead of a nice Republican powder puff like Ryan, Romney, or Kasich, because he wants us to win. And maybe it's time to redefine nice. Maybe Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan aren't nice at all because they led us to defeat, and losing again means the end of the country. Can God allow that? Maybe Romney and Ryan meant well, but the road to hell's paved with good intentions. Or maybe they're just jealous. They had their chance and blew it. Maybe they'd rather help Hillary get Hillary elected than allow a Trump victory that would make them look weak, feckless, and incompetent. I was reading the Bible this morning. I found a perfect verse that explains the success of Donald Trump. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They'll mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint. That's Isaiah 40, verses 30, 31. It's almost like God created this verse for Donald Trump and this moment in history. Trump is our energy, more energy than any candidate ever. He took out the best 16 candidates in GOP history, all younger than him, all with better political credentials, and destroyed them with his energy. You mean that kind of energy in a 70-year-old isn't inspired by God? Trump renews our strength. Or does the all-time record turnout and all-time record votes for a GOP presidential primary candidate not define strength? With Trump, we mount up with wings like eagles. With Trump as our leader, there's nothing we can't do. Any man that can build skyscrapers in Manhattan and vanquish 16 GOP opponents while spending almost no money can lead us to the heights with eagles. With Trump, we run. We are not weary. Just when we get tired of the fight against Obama, Hillary, big government, big business, big media, big unions, just when it all seems impossible to overcome the powerful forces of evil, and that's what those people are, along comes Donald Trump to re-energize us. Trump inspires us, gives us hope, gives us confidence in victory, gives us just a touch of arrogance. Maybe we need that back. Maybe God understands that's exactly what we need right now at this last stage to save America. God's about miracles. We don't need a nice guy or a gentleman right now. It's the fourth quarter and we're losing 21-0. We need a miracle. So let me repeat my message to Christians. You're missing the boat. I believe Trump is our miracle. I believe Trump is our rowboat, except he's more like a battleship. I'm not saying he's perfect. No one's saying Trump is a perfect conservative, but he is a patriot. He is a warrior. He is a capitalist. He is the right man at the right time. Yes, he's a bit rude and crude and offensive, but that may make him the perfect warrior to save America, American exceptionalism, capitalism, and Judeo-Christian values. The choice should be easy for Christians. It's Trump or the end of America. Folks, that was sent to me by a fellow Christian. I know this guy. I sent this to everybody I could send it to over the last couple of days. If you find this out there anywhere, please forward it along to others. We need, seriously, folks, we need a change of perspective on what this is all about. You know, well, John Kasich continues his petty little efforts to derail Trump and to brand him as something other than what he is. And, well, Jeb Bush stayed in Florida, and, Ted Cruz got up and made a fool out of himself the other day. Donald Trump continues on. We need to be behind him. This is the intersection of faith and reason. Clint Bellows will be back at the bottom of the hour.
Folks from around the country don't get Omaha. They think we're the town Peyton Manning made famous.
Omaha!
Yeah, truth is, we kind of like being anonymous. That way the rest of the country can leave us alone and let us thrive. It's not just the low cost of living we love, low cost of housing. The fact that you can get anywhere in 20 minutes. What we really love are the people, the best neighborhoods, the best families are all right here. And this station gets all that. This is Omaha's Conservative Talk, 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Hugh Hewitt doesn't agree with the media reaction to Donald Trump's convention speech.
I like that it upset so many of the liberal media so much. What they objected to was, in fact, the realism of it. It wasn't dark, it wasn't angry, it was a realistic speech, especially when he talked about the world around us. And he went and he reaffirmed what his platform is, and so no one has any doubt.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, weekday mornings at 5, right before Mike Gallagher at 8, on FM 94.5, AM 1420. The Answer.
Fish Fest Omaha, Nebraska's largest Christian music festival, returns to Ralston Arena this year on Saturday, August 13th. If you have a group of 12 or more that would like to attend and save some big money, we want to hear from you. Hi, I'm Kelly Lewis, Fish Fest Group Sales Manager, and we are making it easier than ever for your group to attend Fish Fest. Whether it's just purchasing your tickets to Fish Fest or a complete package which includes tickets, food, and a Fish Fest t-shirt, we want your group to have the best experience. And with every 12 tickets purchased, you receive the 13th absolutely free. All you need to do to reserve your group tickets now with no money down is visit fishfestomaha.com and click on groups. That's fishfestomaha.com and click on groups. We hope to see you in your group at Fish Fest on Saturday, August 13th.
Clint Bellows, sponsored in part by Dingman's Collision Centers. Larry Elder believes the left is wrong, not evil.
I know that there is a theory out there that people on the left are trying to undermine the country for their own nefarious reasons. I don't believe that at all. In fact, that would be easier to fight. If there was a Hitler who was trying to take over the country and persecute people, you could out that person as being evil and then marshal forces against them.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 6, right before Steve Days at 8 on 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Michael Medved explains the problems facing police today.
The crime rate is down nationally, half of what it was in 1990. Does this mean that people don't get pulled over who shouldn't get pulled over? Does it mean that there isn't a problem? No, there is a problem. But the problems are not problems of policing at their core. They're a problem of schools, of neighborhoods, of family structure, of economy and economic opportunity.
The Michael Medved Show, afternoons at 2, right before Clint Bellows at 4 on 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Democratic National Committee has issued an apology to Bernie Sanders, his supporters, and the entire party over leaked emails that contained what a statement calls inexcusable remarks about Sanders. His supporters say the emails proved bias. The statement wasn't signed by the outgoing DNC head, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The Florida Congresswoman was booed today. Her gavel was handed over to Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake, who called the 47th Democratic Convention to order. A Baton Rouge police officer who was among 3 officers gunned down July 17th was remembered today for his public plea that the city unite against hate. Montrell Jackson made a social media post for unity just days before he was slain. Jackson, a 10-year veteran of the police force, and 2 other law enforcement officers were killed by a masked gunman who officials say appeared to be targeting police. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 78 points. The Nasdaq dropped 2.5. This is SRN News.
94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Weather. Here's Matt Duncan.
Here's a look at the forecast for Monday night. We'll see fair skies. Temperatures pretty comfortable for this time of year. Low in the upper 60s and east winds at 5 to 10. Tuesday, sunshine will reach a summer-like high in the upper 80s with south winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then we'll see a chance of overnight showers and thunderstorms Tuesday night. And we'll linger that chance into Wednesday morning with Wednesday's high in the lower 80s. That's a look at the forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Duncan.
The Clint Bellows Show. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer.
Looking in your eyes, I see a paradise. This world that I found is too good to be true. Standing here beside you, want so much to give you this love in my heart that I'm feeling for you.
Let them say we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back. Let the world around us just fall apart. Baby, we can make it if we're heart to heart. And we can build this peace together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. If this world runs out of lovers, we'll still have each other.
We will have each other. Nothing is going to stop us. Always forward. This is a nation that has single-handedly really defeated the greatest threats in the history to freedom in mankind's long chronology. In the last 100 years since the outbreak of World War I, and really before, if you go back to the late 1800s, there were skirmishes with with Spain and with Mexico. We overcame some of those things. Cuba, and of course, Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders. Everybody knows some of those stories. We went on to take on the bad guys and defeat the German army. They were forced to an armistice in World War I. That, of course, some people think because of the punitive terms forced upon the Germans by the French, the British, and some of the other Allied powers. Over the objections of America, by the way, we warned the Europeans, don't put the Germans in this kind of an economic bind that they can't get out of, because eventually they'll find a way out of it. And in fact, that's what happened 20 years later with the rise of Adolf Hitler and what we know happened in a war that was so much greater than what they called the First World War, folks, which, as you know because you're students of history, that was called the War to End All Wars, the Great War. And of course, it wasn't great, and it was great, but it wasn't the War to End All Wars. We then went into the Second World War, and you know the outcome of that. That was ushering in the Cold War with the Soviets, which we fought from 1945. From Harry Truman's first summit with Stalin at Yalta at the end of the war. We had to fight these people and their surrogates in Korea and Vietnam and a whole bunch of different places, and we did so. We took a lot of death, a lot of young American men and women killed on foreign battlefields, a lot of blood spilled, a lot of American treasure and trove lost. But by 1980, by the end of the Reagan administration going into George Bush's years in 89 through 92, we saw the complete collapse of communism in the Soviet Union and in Europe. And we saw a real shift, a seismic shift. And we thought for a while we were off the hook with a lot of this stuff. And then, with the 1990s, with Bubba Clinton in the White House and his feckless approach to dealing with terrorists. You may recall that the World Trade Center wasn't hit first in 2001, folks. It was hit in April of 1993, less than 2 months after Bill Clinton was inaugurated president of the United States. They tried to bring it down. Of course, we know he did nothing about it. He did nothing about the coal. He did nothing about embassy bombings. He did nothing about what was his name? Osama bin Laden. Okay, and we've paid a dear price for that, ending with the September 11th attack in 2001. And the world has been changed. There was a Clinton in power then, too. Are we going to vote another one of these losers in, these grifters in? Tom, great to have you on the show, sir. Thanks for being at the event yesterday, you and your lovely wife and beautiful daughter. Great to see you.
Oh, Clint, it was a magnificent deal. We really enjoyed ourselves. The baby had a time of her life, and I just enjoyed being there, meeting you and meeting the general and all the other folks there. It was a great event, Clint. Thanks for putting it on.
Well, and you were part of the reason it was a great event. And I saw that $35 blue pinstripe suit you had on, and I'll tell you, that's the best-looking $35 blue pinstripe suit I've ever seen. In fact, you can go to Joseph A. Bank and a bunch of other places and pay 10 times that much and not end up with that nice a suit, Tom.
You're absolutely right. That's because it's a $2,000 Italian suit that somebody passed off on.
I'll tell you, you're skinny enough to wear it. Congratulations on being a skinny man. I hate guys like you. But I got your notes, and I'm drinking my 64. Is it glasses of water or ounces of water a day? I don't remember. Just ounces, because I was on my 57th glass here a minute ago, and I'm starting to have a hard time, sitting in the chair here. What's on your mind today, sir? Tell me what's
on my mind is your last caller. I mean, if you remember a while back, I can't remember how long ago I called you and I said, these evangelical Christians have got to understand the only reason Trump has been able to defeat the other 16 guys is because God is with Trump. Now,
I believe
this man today said the same thing, so that out of the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses shall all the truth be established. Now, there's 2 of us said the same thing, that God is with Trump, and that's why he's able to do it. Christians got an idea that God doesn't take care of non-vocal Christians, but he does, and he just hit it on the head. You better pass that on to Prager and all the other guys on the answer. So they really
Well,
do
you know,
that.
Prager would do it, and Mike Gallagher is my personal favorite. He'd do it. I think Hewitt would do it. Medved's a liberal. He won't do anything. He was busy.
Well,
He's always found he's a guy that finds a reason to knock Trump every day of his life, and I don't get that,
That's
frankly.
why he needs to hear it to be converted.
Well, you know, you're right. You're right about that, sir.
He needs to hear it. Send it to him. Don't make a decision for him. Let him make the decision.
No, you know what? I think we will. You know, that's a great idea. I'm going to come up with his email. I don't communicate too much with him, but I know that Larry Elder, who follows our show, would be in lockstep with you on your thinking, Tom, on that matter.
Oh, I listen to Elder too when I'm working like tonight. I get a chance to listen to him after you, and he's a great.
He's a super guy. Yeah, he is really. And I think he will probably be in Philadelphia covering the Democrat convention.
But then we get the right perspective on it.
Yeah, and you know, we have to do that. And earlier in the show, Tom, as you may have heard, or if you were listening at that time, we played Franklin Graham's prayer today for the country, and
I just got to work, and it just got the end of that. I wish I'd heard the whole thing, but I got the end of it. It was a great prayer.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this guy's a moderate kind of guy. I mean, he's not taken to a lot of fire and brimstone or hyperbole or passion. He's pretty level modulated, you know, calm kind of a guy, but he is seething underneath. I know from people I know who know him well, and he's very worried about where this thing is going, and as we all are. But
well,
you know,
just like the writer of that email said, if we don't get behind Trump, we're going to lose this country. Now, can I make a suggestion? We need to perk people up and pump them up.
Please.
One of the best pumper-uppers was General George S. Patton, and the guy that wrote the email and mentioned him.
Yes.
Why don't you get the soundtrack from the movie Patton and start pulling snippets out of there where he was inspiring his men? Now, one that's on my mind today was when McCulloch was pinned down by the Germans, and I don't know if I get through this. This man come in and said to him, McCulloch the Germans asked him to surrender because he's pinned down, and he said, "What did he say?" And the general responded, "Nuts."
That's right.
So
Yeah.
Patton says, "We've got to rescue that man." He said, "Get me the chaplain."
That's a man who deserves rescuing.
That's it.
I mean, they were completely surrounded. Americans, the young people don't know this stuff, Tom. This is what breaks my heart. We don't teach them. You know, you go to Bastogne, Belgium, at the foot of the Ardennes forest, where the 101st Airborne was completely surrounded by Germans. And they sent an emissary with a white flag saying, "You're going to surrender, we're going to kill all of you." McAuliffe, as you accurately pointed out, said, "Nuts." Sent that message back. The Germans couldn't figure out what that meant, but I think they knew it wasn't, we surrender. And we held out, and of course we turned that battle with a bulge around, and the rest is history.
You know it's interesting to tell people how he did it. He called the chaplain in and he says, "Chaplain, I need a prayer for snow. I want you to ask the Lord to make it snow so hard the Germans can't get their planes off the ground so I can go down there and kill all those Germans. Got McKellar pinned down." You remember that?
I do. And the chaplain said, "I don't know if I can do a prayer for killing people, and I don't know if I can write that kind of prayer." And Patton say something like, "Not only can you write it, you will write it. I need it by 10 o'clock tonight, and if you write a good prayer, we'll have a good result."
Right, and you remembered exactly as I do. And then he says, "You want me to write a prayer that you can kill Germans?" He says, "That's exactly right. Now get it done."
Yeah, and you know, but there was no ambiguity about that. They were the enemy. And Patton had, as did people at that time, they understood that it was them or the enemy, okay? And that's where we are with these extremists, okay? There will be a winner in this at some point. I would rather it be us, Tom.
Well, it's got to be us. It's got to be us. And if we get the people to understanding, and the ones that are so blasé and laissez-faire about things, understanding this is serious stuff. This is our country that's at stake. And our way of life, our children's way of life. And I got a little daughter. I want her to grow up and have every advantage.
She is beautiful, and she looked like she was having a great time yesterday. I have a granddaughter. We all, you know, you and I have had our lives, you know, and we want to continue to be around for a while too. But it's about the future. And when you look at the fact, Tom, that Debbie Wasserman Schultz got the axe, at the Democratic National Convention. They threw her out. Why? Because she ganged up on Bernie Sanders and the Sanders people, which represent socialism, Marxism, Leninism, and communism. Okay, that's what Bernie Sanders is all about. The guy never got a piece of legislation passed in 26 years in the House and Senate. That tells you something. Okay, but they want their guy in because Hillary didn't treat him right, and Tim Kaine is too much. Tim Kaine is not a moderate by any normal sane evaluation. Tim Kaine is a far left liberal, but he's not far left enough for the Sanders people. That's what we're up against, and you know.
Well, and he got the young kids snowed on a bunch of free stuff, and they got to wake up to reality. There's no free lunch. I don't know who said that. Somebody said it a long time ago. There's no free lunch.
There's no free lunch.
You got to earn everything you get in this country, but you got the opportunity to do it. You got the opportunity to do it, and
you're living proof of that, Tom, and you're one of my heroes. And I'm so I was so happy to see you there, and George and Travis and Dennis, and just too many people to name. Such great friends of the program and friends of the country, and it was a very nice event. We got some good weather there that helped out. It wasn't quite so hot, a little bit overcast. Kind of a shady, nice, bucolic area there at the Joslin grounds, and the
grounds, the spot was great. It was a great place for a little get together, and with a little bit of shade and nice view over the grounds and a piece of Omaha history. That was superb.
Well, I'm so happy you joined us. Good to meet your wife and your daughter, and thank you so much for calling today, sir.
Oh, hey, always good to talk to you, and make sure you read those notes and see what you can do about it.
No, I'm drinking my 64 glasses of water already, so I'm anyway. So anyhow,
Okay.
64 ounces of water. That's what it was.
64 ounces. Okay, you have a great night, Philly.
Thanks, Tom, and that's one of the great Americans I've met in this area since I've been back. That's Tom. Time's 5:45. We're going to go to a very fine commercial sponsor of this show, and then we'll be back to talk a little bit about Hillary Clinton and her misleading claims going into the Democrat National Convention in just a moment.
Clint Bellows, brought to you in part by Norm's Door Service.
In 1963, we listened to Surfin' USA by the Beach Boys as the Beatles began to take the world by storm with their release of I Want to Hold Your Hand. In that same year, my dad, Norm, launched Norm's Door Service, and we've been serving homeowners and businesses ever since. I'm Ruth, and for more than 50 years, Norm's Door has been in the business of repairing and replacing broken doors, and not just garage doors. Norm's is qualified on the repair and replacement of entry doors, automatic doors, rolling doors, even hangar doors. Large or small, we do it all. Norm's, opening doors since 1963.
This just in, death, destruction, and violence. Film at 11.
Come on. Is all the news really bad? How about some good news in your daily routine? You'll find it when you log on to Christianity.com. They've got great devotionals, terrific Bible study tools, quizzes, and links to the day's most inspiring stories from around the web. Get good news every day when you set your homepage to Christianity.com. Make a difference in your internet life. Christianity.com.
So the RNC pulls off a great convention in Cleveland with no protests. The Democrats smugly make fun of it and then have their own email scandal. Then they have their own protests. The Bernie Sanders people are not happy. They don't like the VP pick. They don't like the rigged system that helped Hillary win. The Democrats turned Philly into a city of brotherly disagreement. Yeah, looks like this horse race is getting very interesting. Stay tuned. It's going to get even better. 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. Now back to Clint Bellows, sponsored in part by Dingman's Collision Centers.
Just to see her, just to touch her, just to hold her in my arms again, one more time. If I could feel her warm embrace, see her smiling face, can't find anyone to take her place, I've got to see her again.
And you're going to get plenty of chances. She'll be all over the media this week, and she'll be invading your life for, I'm hoping, only the next 14 or 15 weeks. I hope that the magic stake is finally driven in the heart of the vampire and that we're not dealing with it after November 8th. I don't know. There's so many dumb people in this country. If you vote for her, you're voting your country into extinction. You can laugh at me, you can mock me in your pseudo-intellectual security blanket. The game's on the line. This is not an idle warning. This is where things are. We do a thing every afternoon on this show. What do we call it again?
And now for today's edition of Keeping Up with the Clintons.
That's what it is. And we started this process way back in early May. So we've been doing this for almost 3 months now, I think. And, what is that? That's about 22 shows a month. So that's about 60-plus shows. And we've been able so far to do 60-plus things that these two have dreamed up. And people that have disappeared, monies that have gone from foreign government and big donor bank accounts into their Clinton Global Initiative slush fund. Sexual deviancies that the two of them perpetrate on themselves and each other and others. On and on and on. And let's not leave out all the lies that this woman tells. She tells so many lies that when she was once asked by Scott Pelley on CBS News if she thought she was a liar, she said, well, no, I try not to lie. Okay. I don't know if you remember that or not, but this is a woman who lies about lying. Okay. And she has said when she was interviewed last night on 60 Minutes, I hope you didn't waste your time watching it. I saw the first couple minutes of it, and I just couldn't stand it. But she said she felt sad about watching a Republican National Convention that was mostly about criticizing her. By the way, that's what conventions are. And my guess, Mrs. Clinton, Mrs. Rodham, whatever you're calling yourself this week, my guess is that you'll and your cohorts and your partners in crime and stupidity will spend the next 4 days criticizing Donald Trump. Maybe you'll be a little more sympathetic to his plight in life. She said, I seem to be the only unifying theme that they had. The presumptive Democratic nominee said, of course, it's all about her, just like it's been all about Barack Obama. There was no positive agenda. It was a very dark, divisive campaign. People who were speaking were painting a picture of our country that I did not recognize. Negative, scapegoating, fear, bigotry, smears. I was just so saddened by it. Well, they're amazing. I mean, the devil is a liar, okay, and he's a very effective one. And I think when you hear things come out of her pie hole, I think there's some influence there that is supernaturally inspired. I don't think she's smart enough to say some of the things she says because the lies are so insidious. They are effective from time to time. What Donald Trump said during the Republican convention might have seemed dark. It is clear to those of us who are paying attention, that's where the world is right now. He was telling the truth. And by the way, she wasn't the unifying force, although she was one. We're unified to save the country. I don't care what happens to Hillary Clinton. I don't wish her any harm or her family, unlike what she has done to so many people that they have destroyed in the last 35 or 40 years. And they have. There was a positive agenda. It was a very positive agenda. It said, let's save this country. Let's stop unvetted immigrants coming in here from places that practice Sharia law. Let's get on cleaning up this $21 trillion debt that Barack Obama has run up. Let's get into a habit of supporting our police instead of criticizing them like you will be doing this week, Mrs. Clinton. This will be a Black Lives Matter week to end all weeks, okay? I could go on and on and on about the positive agenda that Donald Trump had. Mrs. Clinton, you you offer more of the same. You offer no change. You offer language without substance. You offer your years of experience, your years of failure and non-accomplishment. Who have you ever paid to do something for you? Oh, I forgot. The Clinton Foundation pays women who work for it 38% less than they pay men. But you're a feminist, right? I don't know. It's amazing to me. A listener to the show just sent me an email, and in it he shows her outfit. Now, this is a little bit personal, but I'm going to say it anyway. And it says, compliments to Armani, the fashion designer, and says, I'm not posting this, and it's a picture of Hillary standing there at the convention wearing this pink pantsuit. She doesn't own a dress, by the way, okay? But anyway, it's an Armani pantsuit. It's pink. And she's giving a speech about income inequality. The jacket she's wearing is $12,500. He said, this particular listener emails me, I'm posting this to give compliments to Armani for being able to sell a potato sack with sleeves for $12,500. And to be able to appreciate this, you really have to see the picture. But you've seen Mrs. Clinton. This is her ubiquitous outfit. This is what she wears. This is the only thing she can wear. Mrs. Clinton says that there's an unfair standard. Yes, there is. We're asking you to be honest and truthful. And that is very unfair with you because we know that those are two words that have never applied to you. From the time you first got out of Yale Law School with no job offers, which is kind of like Johnny Rogers getting out of Nebraska and not having a single, out of Tech High School in 1970, and not having a single college go after him when we only know about 120 who did. Johnny Rogers had 120 scholarship offers. The other guy in that backfield was good. He had 0 scholarship offers, okay? I remember it well. You had 0 job offers out of Yale. That's hard to do. You had to go pro bono in your junk car across the United States to Oakland, California, where you spent the first year of your career representing Black Panthers who were accused of murdering police. Now, it's interesting that USA Today, actually this came out yesterday in their Sunday weekend edition. And what they did was they said that in advance of the Democratic National Convention, which begins on the 25th of July tomorrow in Philadelphia, today we present a wrap-up of some of the most egregious falsehoods from Hillary Clinton, who is set to accept her party's nomination for president. We focused on claims most relevant for the general election and those that Clinton has repeated or more likely could be repeated by her or others this week. For more on each statement, you can follow the link in our stories. You can go on the USA Today thing. You can go factcheck.org/personal Hillary-Clinton/ and you will come up with this. I'm sure it's not that hard to find. But we're going to focus on these this week. We don't have a lot of time today to get into it in a great deal of detail, but there's plenty out there. We will focus over the next few days on her misstatements on guns, health care, the economy, Wall Street, which is in her pocket, science and global climate change, and foreign policy. We'll be talking about these things over the next 4 days on this program and trying to tell you and show you graphically. And this is USA Today. This is not a conservative, this isn't Investors Business Daily. It isn't the Wall Street Journal. It isn't the Daily Standard or the Weekly Standard, the Daily Caller. This isn't the National Review. This is a very secular, somewhat liberal newspaper, the USA Today. They are pointing out Hillary Clinton's false and misleading claims. I believe, folks, that if God is in this thing, perhaps the worm begins to turn, okay? And we'll also be talking about the fact that so many of the donors to the Clinton Global Initiative in the Democratic Party, guess what? They've got all the power jobs in our government. That's a shocker, isn't it? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the show today. I hope you will take the time, even though I know it's odious, and take out a pad of paper or put it on your computer, on your handheld device, and try to count the number of lies and misleading statements that Mrs. Clinton comes up with in the next 4 nights and her followers. Would you do that for me? And, of course, the followers, as we talked about earlier, this is a who's who of prevaricators and liberal losers from the last 30 years in this country. I mean, you just can't beat people like Martin O'Malley, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Chris Murphy, Terry McAuliffe, Nita Lowey, Amy Klobuchar, Sheila Jackson Lee, on and on and on. Tom Harkin, they're dragging that goofball out from the past. Get the mothballs off of him. On and on. I mean, it's just amazing the number of people. Al Franken, Eric Garcetti, Kirsten Hillebrand, Mark Dayton, Howard Dean, Bill de Blasio. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to be dissecting this crap over the next 4 nights. Hope you'll join us. We'll be back tomorrow at 4. Thanks for listening to the Clint Bellows Show on Omaha is the Answer, Conservative Talk.
Clint Bellows, 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The 94.5 FM, 1420 AM. The Answer. KOTK, Omaha, a division of Salem Media Group on the NASDAQ as SALM.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. Some chaos this evening at the Democratic National Convention as angry Bernie Sanders supporters are upset about the bias exhibited in leaked emails by the National Committee toward Hillary Clinton. Democratic Convention Chairwoman Martha Fudge says she wants those who are booing and cheering to stop the shouting.
I intend to be fair. I want to hear the varying opinions here. I am going to be respectful of you, and I want you to be respectful of me.
Embarrassed DNC officials apologized to Sanders, his supporters, and the entire party over the leaked emails and what they called inexcusable remarks about Sanders. Meanwhile, outgoing Democratic National Committee Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz won't participate in the convention at all. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump says Hillary Clinton threw Wasserman Schultz under the bus.
Look how disloyal crooked Hillary Clinton was to somebody that put her life on the line. I mean, what she did in order to take advantage of Bernie Sanders and all of his supporters.
Hundreds of police officers from across the country turned out in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for the funeral of one of 3 policemen gunned down July 17th. Corporal Montrell Jackson was eulogized today by Baton Rouge Police Corporal Ivory Taylor, Jr.
Montrell loved God. He loved his family. He loved his squad. Montrell loved this city. And he loved being a part of the Baton Rouge Police Department.
A massive knife attack in Japan.
Let's see here. Bear with me.
This is probably meant for you. Sitting right here.
Okay.
It's probably meant for you. I don't know. Sitting right here.
Thank you. That probably is. I forgot to do this today.
You want me to answer it?
Sure.
You feel like talking to somebody?
Sure.
KOTK. What's up? Sorry, you got out. Specifically which one? You read a couple emails today. Which one would you be referring to? What was the subject matter?
the last one about Trump. Where do you find the email or the article about Trump being like the rowboat or something?
Let's see.
He's looking for it right now.
If you get the email address, I will send it to him.
If you give me your email address, he said he would forward it to you right now. What's? Okay, what's? Sorry, one more time. I was grabbing the pen. S. All right. Hotmail, got it. All right. Yep. Get back. Shoeless133 at hotmail.com.
Okay.